Hi boys and girls, we're going to get started on our math lesson for today, and today we're going to be talking more about three-digit numbers and thousands charts. So for today's lesson you are going to need this sheet. It's called Puzzles on a Thousands Chart. It looks like this, and access to our online digital base 10 blocks. So once you have your materials ready to go, let's get started. Today we're going to start off in our digital base 10 blocks. So today you're going to be creating your own thousands chart, and I'm going to show you how that's done, okay? So what you're going to need to create your thousands chart is hundreds blocks. And how many hundreds are there in 1,000? There are 10 hundreds in 1,000. 10 hundreds in 1,000. So you're going to lay out your hundreds just like this. The first thing that you're going to want to do is zoom out. So you're going to press this button down here so that you're zoomed out so that your blocks are kind of small. When you're zoomed in, they're big like this. When you're zoomed out, they look like this. So you want to zoom out so that we can fit a lot of blocks on our screen. Then you're going to place your blocks, and I'm going to show you how to place them. I want you to place them the way that I'm placing them so that you can see them all on your screen at once. So we have 100 here.
200, and you can kind of have them set up like this. 300, 400. Next to that, we're going to go 500, 600, 700, 800, and then 900, and 1,000.
So when we make a hundreds chart, we might have you go in and number all of these little squares to show 1 through 100. We're not going to do that with a thousands chart because that would take you quite some time. So what you're going to do instead, you're going to go down here and you're going to click on this T right here. This T stands for text. And we're going to mark some key numbers. So I want you to have some key numbers, but you don't have to write down every single number. So what you're going to do is you're going to click this text tool. And a big box pops up that looks like this. You want to make sure that it's on the small font, which it is, not the big A, but the little a. And then you're going to start adding your key numbers. So the first key number that I want you to add is 1. You just type in 1 and you press done. Now you can grab this box that has the 1 in it and you can put it right over that first box. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see it. I put the 1 right here on the first box, and then I click off of it, and it's there. The next key number that I want you to put down is 10. So again, text box, the number 10, and you click off of it and you move it to the right spot. Just like that. So now I have 1 and 10. After 1 and 10, you're going to go down and you're going to make your next one 100. Ooh, I shouldn't have moved that. Sorry. Let me fix it. If you accidentally move it like I just did, you just need to grab the numbers again, put them back in their spots. So the first 100, I'm going to zoom back out. We'll go right here, right? So I'm going to press text. I'm going to press 100, and then I'm going to be done. I'm going to put that 100 right here. It's okay if it kind of pokes over the edge there. Okay. The next number that I want you to show me is the first one in the next 100. So on this one we did 1, we did 10, and we did 100. So for this 200 block, we're going to do 101 and 200, okay? So here we're going to go
101, done. And up here, down here, we're going to do another text, and we're going to write 200. Oops, 200. And put it right at the bottom.
You're going to repeat this for every 100. So right here, what number would go here in this first box of the next 100? After 200 comes 201. And at the end of this next box, what are we going to be at? We're going to be at 300, right? This is our third 100. Oops. So I'm going to go text You're going to repeat this with all of your hundreds. So this right here is your 400, your 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, and 1,000. So you're going to repeat it for all of these boxes. Go ahead and pause this video here, and you can practice filling in the rest of your spaces. All right, once you are done labeling your online thousands chart, make sure that it looks similar to mine so that when we move on to the next part of our lesson, you have a well set up sheet. I ran out of numbers, as you can see here, so I just wrote my last number, 1,000, using this pen tool down here. So once your chart looks like this, then it's time to get your puzzles ready. So once your chart looks like this, get your puzzle sheet out and we'll get started on our next steps. All right, so for this part of the lesson, you need your puzzles on 1,000 chart sheet. It looks like this, and access to those online thousands charts that we just made. That thousands chart is going to help you to visualize these individual pieces. So all of these represent different parts of a thousands chart. They all show different parts, and they give you little clues about the numbers, but you have to figure out what goes in the rest of all of these boxes. So let's take a look at this first one up here. So this one says 55, and down here we've got 77. So if we start with 55 here, we know that what comes after 55? One more than 55 would be 56. After 56 comes 57. That makes sense. 57, and then we've got a blank here, but then we've got 77. So we've got 7 in the ones place in both of these, which is a good sign. Okay. So then, am I going to move into my next line and go 58?
59, 60, 61.
I'm not sure if this is right.
62, 63, 64.
77? Does that make sense? That does not quite make sense. So we have to be paying close attention here. We're not just filling in these boxes with the numbers that come next. We're thinking about this box as a small part of a thousands chart. So that means that in this row, all of the numbers should end with a 5. In this row, they should all end with a 6. In this row, they should all end with a 7 or have a 7 in the 1 spot. So this first line looks great, but down here, we've got to make some changes, okay? So let's think about what we could do differently. So this part looks great, 55, 56, 57. Off to a perfect start. So in this next row, what's going to happen? Let's think about what comes before 55. What's 1 less than 55? 54. So in this next line, remember, we're not just counting on. We're thinking about this as a small piece of a bigger thousands chart. So in this next line, we're going to go into the 60s. 64, 65, 66, 67. Now do you see how there's a 5 in both of these ones places and a 7 in all of these ones places? Okay, after 67, remember, we're not going to put 68. We're going to think about the next part of a thousands chart. So here we're going to go 74, 77. And then after the 70s, we're going to jump to the next group of 10s, which are the 80s. 84,
85, 86,
and 87. So let's think. What comes before the 50s would be the 40s. So here we have 44,
45, 46,
and 47. So what I want you to be able to take away from today is how we can use a number line to help us figure out what comes next. Remember, each row of a number line or a number chart represents another set of 10. So up here we're in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. And then when we go across the columns, we're moving through the ones. So it's important that you remember that we're not just counting on, but we're thinking about what would the thousands chart look like. Let's take a look over here at this one below it. So this one is a little bit different shape. There's not as many numbers that you have to write in, but we want to think about this clue that we have right here, 58. So we've got one before and one after 58. So let's think about this for a second. What's one number before 58? That would be 57. What's one number after 58? That would be 59. So remember, as we move down the rows, we're counting by tens. And as we move across the rows and columns, we're moving by one. So if I was at 59 in this column, if I wanted to go up 10 more, what number would I be at if we were counting by tens? Then I would be at 69. Plus 10 more, I would be at 79. Plus 10 more, I would be at 89. So we're adding 10 every time we move down a row. What about if we were moving up a row from 59? What's 59 minus 10? What's 10 less than 59? If we're counting by tens, what comes before 59? 49. So 49 plus 10 gives us 59. So we're starting with this 58 right here, and we're using it as a clue to help us figure out the rest of the numbers. So right here, you don't have to write anything down. Right here, you don't have to write anything down. Down here, you need to fill in this box. So let's see what we have here. We know up here we've got 58, and we know down here we've got 89. So what row are we in? Are we in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, or the 80s? If we're working right here, we're in the 80s. So we know that this is 80 something. So now let's think about the columns. Remember, the columns we're focusing on the ones place. So are we in the 7s, the 8s, or the 9s? We're in the 8s. So in this box here is going to go 88. Okay. So now that I think that you have a good idea of what your sheet should look like, you can go ahead and get started. Remember, if you get confused, think about that thousands chart that you made for yourself. We're not just going 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, right? We're thinking about this as a chart, as a thousands chart. So as you fill it in, think about it as a chart and work on these puzzles and see what you can do. Once you are done with your work, please add an attachment of just this sheet so that your teacher can see your progress. These can be a little tricky, so we want to make sure that we check over them and can support you. Today I want you to remember the importance of a thousands chart and what it looks like, how we would fill one in, and that's what this puzzle is going to help you do. All right, boys and girls, go ahead and get started on your task. Thank you so much for listening. Good luck, have fun.